So welcome, Sibo, and excited that you and Castro can both join us this evening. No pressure to log on, just testing my own camera to see where we're at. So welcome, Sibo, and please.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So much for joining us. I'm so excited and also very nervous.
Why are you nervous?
No need to
Because
be.
I watched the documentary like 3 times so that I ask the right questions.
And you're still gonna ask the wrong questions, but that's okay. It's all good.
I know, right? Right? So it's been so humbling to immerse myself in new movement vocabularies and think about the ways in which, we're trained or we're not trained or what our movement vocabularies are. So I'm excited to talk with you all and also to share this with our students.
Nice.
Yes, thank you very much.
It is an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm glad that we've gotten this opportunity to talk about what we hold so dear.
Yeah.
Mr. David, are we on
Yeah.
uh are we on mask mode right now? I can't see. All I see is your Grizzly Adams going on.
Get my biblical on up here in the
Okay.
mountains. Yes.
So what do you think of the movie, Stevie?
I
Wait, is your name
That's
Stevie?
that's
Yeah.
why. Hold on. I'm sideways.
There you go. Now we can see all of
There
you.
we go.
Aha.
Okay, here we go.
What did I think of the movie? I am so struck by the ways in which like there's honoring of lineage and also innovation inside of a community, and I feel like you guys brought that to the forefront in terms of asking questions that get at like the importance of what should we say to these folks, or why are they important, or how did they change the field to give me permission to do my version of what it is. And so, so many instructors or teachers, I don't think historically in Western traditions have come into the room that way. Where it's like, here you are, let me tell you what's up, and then that's kind of it, as opposed to a constantly dialoguing form. So it was cool for me to see and hear that in really concrete ways throughout the film that you guys generated.
It's normally hard uh for us to get those points across because culturally in our culture we don't have those conversations. It's kind of just like
Right.
um unspoken dialogue. Like everybody just understands. But I felt it was necessary for this to be said, specifically because that year we were losing so many people, uh, not just in street dance community, but in the Black community. And I thought to myself, why do we wait for people to be gone to say thank you? And so I ended up having a conversation with Sibo about it, and then Q overheard the conversation and was like, "I want in. Like, we can make this happen."
Yeah.
Boom, here we are.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's interesting to hear that that's not something that's like outwardly spoken, that you got, that it's not customary to say those kinds of thank yous or to have that kind of acknowledgement, even though I'm sure everyone in the community understands that that's how they came up in the form or in the world.
I mean, it's not that it's not customary, right? We have events, we have jams, we have competitions where the thank yous are always happening,
Right.
but
Okay.
not so personal. They're more like generalizations, for the people who are constantly doing work, for those who are the most popular or the most famous in our community at the time. Um, when groups of OGs have workshops and things of that nature. These conversations, to a certain extent, take place, but not at a personal level.
I see.
Like it's always just like, thank you for leading us all the time. Much respect for being a legitimate living member of Black history.
Yep.
But it's not like, yo, remember when we went and did this and you did this and you told me this, and it's never that personal.
I see.
So this is that plus being personal.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I think
Um,
what it was for me was that ability to be able to shine a light on individuals who have impacted the scene, and I wouldn't say they haven't been given their just dues, but I didn't want to wait until they were gone for their just dues to be paid. Because these are individuals who are continually, and if you speak to them, they would not see themselves in the light in which we painted them in this picture because
Right.
they're
right.
continually doing the work. They're like, yeah, there's still other people that should be getting this light before me, but we just felt like um, we need to start to attack the problem from different angles instead of you getting to a certain age or you being in a certain place. If we feel that the contributions that you've made to this community need to be seen and heard, we're going to do that when we feel that that needs to be done, not until you're no longer here to receive those accolades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There he is. There he
Q has
is.
arrived.
What's up, y'all?
What's
How you
going
we
on,
doing, sir?
sir? How are you?
are we on?
I have to say
Wait.
this is pretty strange for me because I was under the impression that we were all going to be watching this together and then have this. So like people watching um, on their own at their own leisure. You know, I don't trust that because people don't pay attention to things like you have to tend to stop and pause sometimes and be like, "Did you guys see that?"
Let me
Let's go back. Rewind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to rewind and discuss this right quick.
No, that's real, yo. Like
Because
I'm still trying to figure out with editing stuff. Okay, so I'm trying to make this long story short. Short story. My hard drives, like, I accidentally deleted the edited version, the non-copyrighted version of this thing. So I did all this work to make it completely copyright free,
Posted
and
all
I
that.
accidentally deleted it, that version. And so we still have the version from last year. Um, but because of that, I can't do it on YouTube Premiere because YouTube catches the copyrighted music pretty much right away. And so we can't do it in that system. So
oh, so this is your fault. Got you.
yes,
So this is
totally
all
100%.
on you, sir. Okay, all right. We
Totally.
get it. I'm sure it. I mean, if it, the one that we saw last year, if it's the same one that we saw last year, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I
With
think
me
that,
anyway.
you know, copyright laws and all that are cool, but this is the vision. This is our child. You know, this is what we put together. This was months and months of hard work and traveling back and forth and renting rooms and paying for everything, equipment, venue space, you know,
Food. I
food,
mean, literally everything.
security, you know, everything. So it's okay. But
It's all good.
I
We
hope
appreciate you,
your hard
sir.
drive is okay.
No, it's not. It doesn't sound like it is. It doesn't sound like it is at all, actually. It sounds like you may have a situation on your hands with that hard drive situation.
Oh yeah, we figuring it out slowly but surely. It's happening. Puzzle pieces are getting put back together. So
Cool.
I mean that's the next step. Um, to have the copyright free version so that we can distribute it
Did it.
fully how we need to.
Indeed.
Okay, so Stevie, we're
Yeah.
going to turn the floor over to you now for your
I'm
Yes, ma'am.
questions.
I love it. So we are actively streaming on YouTube Live, which is the most bizarre set of technology for me, but I'm excited about it because that means that we get to have hopefully this conversation, and I will also be looking at the chat from the YouTube Live to try to bring in other questions as folks have them. Um,
Okay.
I guess I wanted to start by just asking each of you to introduce yourselves to our watchers, in the context of like who you are, what your interests in the documentary or in the hip hop and street dance community look like. And then we can go from there because everyone knows who I am. I'm Stevie Oakes. I am an associate professor at Brockport and the proud like witness to this beautiful workshop that's evolving, including the screening of this particular documentary. So I will turn it back over to you.
My name is David Castro. I am going to be 32 years old next week. I have been popping for, I made it, right? I have been popping for going to be 20 years. I started when I was 11, and then I started taking it seriously in about 2004, as you'll see in the film. And luckily, I have been blessed to be around consistent leadership, which has molded me into a position of responsibility and leadership in the street dance community as a whole, not just in New York City. My position in New York City is one of the leaders, if not the head of popping for New York City. I teach classes. I constantly teach online workshops all day. I'm usually sitting in front of this iPad for anywhere between 8 to 15 hours a day, teaching people all over the world. And taking care of my father. That's my life right now. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. That's who I am.
Thank you.
I'm Keelan Q Arnold. Just the enthusiast of these two peeps around me, of the culture that we represent. I I mean, where to start? Where to start? Where to start? I teach at Hunter College. I perform for Camille A. Brown and dancers. And yeah, I just try to be a great student of this culture and serve in the ways that I can to constantly be grateful for what I'm receiving and figure out ways to show that gratefulness in action. So that's about it.
Beautiful.
Why you
Can't hear
trying to
you.
be smart? That's why you muted, bro. You try to be smart.
I'm like, why they wait till let me go last? I'm like, I wanted to go first. But anyway, what's up, everybody? I'm Sibo, owner and creator of Next Generation NYC, a member of Dance Fusion Company, and a member of Motivated on Precision Towards Optimal Performance. Mop Top is the crew. I have been dancing a very long time, all completely street and club styles. Um, who I am is really not important. The people that you saw in or are going to see in this video are, because they help molded this culture and the dancer that you're speaking to now in different ways. So I'm hoping that this film gives you an idea of the community that resides out there and gives you the empowerment to feel safe in asking questions and partaking in this culture.
Beautiful.
That's
Thank you.
it.
That's amazing. It's a lot. I mean, I think to really do justice to a lineage in a short amount of time, videography wise. I know that the whole process was not a short amount of time. But I wonder where the inspiration for this stems from, either from a, I know it's personal and also community oriented. And so I think that's one of the most important things for us to establish is some context for how you came together, how this came together, and anything else you might share.
Within the
Um,
last 3 to 5 years, we have lost some very integral parts to our community. Um, none, all due to um, natural causes, none unnatural causes, thankfully.
Yeah.
But in their loss, we realized that there were huge spaces and gaps missing within our community. Um, and partially because of that conversation that was not had while they were here about where we see things going in the event of us not being here. And so, sitting down talking to Castro about it, um, we realized, we need to start paying homage so that those conversations can be had because we all feel like we're not at that place yet to have those conversations because whatever reason. And if we start to put these people in the positions that we see them in, as Castro said, we have been put into positions now that I don't think either one of us would actually claim. Like, nah, an OG, that's not me. But there are dancers who look at us and look to us for answers now because these roles are available. So, in doing that, we just wanted to open that line of communication and letting people know that there are still people that you can speak to about this culture. And although branches have been missing, there are branches that are growing and branches that will continue to grow. And like I said, open that line of communication of question and answer because if no questions are asked, no answers can be given.
uh, in this, I'm pretty sure you've heard it. Many people watching have heard this before, but there's a saying we have in our community called, and it goes, "It takes a village to raise a child." Um, so, like, imagine the people who started your village, that built your village and protected your village, just started dying. This is extremely painful. Um, the past 3 to 5 years have been extremely painful. Um, and a lot of us didn't get to say goodbye. Um, One of the people in the film, Kid Dynamo, he was alive when this thought came to my brain about doing a film, and then 6 months later, he's gone. So, and I have so many interactions with him in different places in Maryland, in Baltimore, in New York, in Virginia. I'm going to date us real fast. Ready? Imagine the Power Rangers, okay? Imagine the Power Rangers were training you to be Power Rangers. And you weren't finished learning, and then they died. And now you have to be a Power Ranger. It's like that. How do I I can't even feel that space. I can't be what they were. I'll never be an OG. And this is a conversation that happens a lot in our community because there's a lot of ego, and this culture was to a certain extent built on ego. But we'll never be OG. Nobody under the age of 50 years old can ever be an OG. I didn't originate anything. My father was a child breaking in the 70s when this started. Like, I could never take a title of original anything when everything we do is recycled and flipped to be continuously pushed into the culture so that it can grow. I didn't originate any of the moves. I have my own style. Yes, I look like me. I am original and unique in my own way. But legitimate living members of Black history that are still alive created these dances in their communities as children. And here we are from 64 to now, 2020, So street dance isn't even 100 years old, but it's literally affected the entire planet in every facet of media and entertainment. In every movie, you look at the movie Power. That's a street dancer fighting Jason Gordon-Levitt, whatever his name is. He's a Bruck-up dancer from Brooklyn.
Right.
I know him. The Lead Twins were they were like intergalactic made of space dust in the Men in Black movie. Street dancers are everywhere doing everything. We're not just, oh, you still do that dance thing. We are artists. And I felt like society needs to know how valuable these people are, how special they are, and what they've done.
Thanks, yo. Yeah. So as Castro alluded to, but I'll just make direct, like this was his vision. And for me, I believe I was about a year in to being a guest in New York City. And I'm somebody who's just like, I really like to observe and see systems and how things work, and then like plug myself in if I can, if I feel like I have a strength somewhere. And so I graduated from Ohio State University in grad school, and they have an alumni, or it wasn't even alumni. No, it wasn't alumni. It was just a grant for dance preservation. And I see this grant opportunity, and like immediately my mind goes to like, oh man, like one of the biggest things for our community to produce products is money. And so this is a connection that I have. And so I reached out to multiple elders and was like, hey, if you all had money, what would you want to do with it? Castro and Sibo were two of the elders who responded to that. And we were fortunate enough to get the grant. And so that was the beginning of the trifecta.
Beautiful. You know, it's funny. I feel very dated by Power Rangers. And I actually am pre Power Ranger. So like if She-Ra and He-Man,
She
oh.
she went there. I know them.
But and
I,
then I'm hearing this word elders or OG and like wanting to maintain those titles and that standing for the people that came before us, but also stepping into those roles. Um, Q, maybe we can reverse the order of things, unless Sibo, you always want to go first, and then we can do that.
No, no, Steve, don't do that. No. Now we keep
Uh,
an order where it is.
no. I think just I'm interested to hear like what are some ways in which you are stepping into or shifting those roles as elders or as mini elder, like what are those things? What does that mean to you as a part of the community?
um, I mean, honestly, what it means is taking what was given and then finding ways to not only improve upon, but the foundation culturally appropriate, right? Um, which is a huge topic right now in the Black community. Um, but for me personally, it became teaching. I've been teaching online classes for 4 years, and then I was teaching in-person classes. And then when this Corona thing happened, it was like, well, I'm already okay. So good
Yeah.
luck, everybody else. But um, having these constant conversations, looking backwards at our history. Like right now, I'm working on a project. Popping is one of the only is the only street dance that doesn't know its history because of so much fighting and bickering by the older generation. So me and someone of Sibo's generation in the popping community have taken it upon ourselves to start coming up with a legitimate timeline. Um, to finally figure out where we come from and how we got from 1964 to 2020, to hear the stories of 50-year-old men from when they were in high school on the West Coast, to now, to how everything got to the East Coast. I also started a group called Lady Army. There's a huge power vacuum in street dance when it comes to the skill level of men to women. Um, and I saw a huge issue with the way women were being treated and the way they were receiving education. So I took it upon myself to just step in the middle of that and create a group that gave women the exact same education I was experienced to, so they could have the exact same knowledge. Because luckily, street dance is not a popping is not a street dance that requires exuberant like physical skill like breaking. So there's no physical limitation outside of your brain and then what your body's naturally capable of.
Right.
Popping is one of those dances where as long as you can do what I showed you how to do, you're fine, and then you can make it better on your own.
Mm.
So that takes the whole, oh, she's dope for a girl situation and it throws it in the garbage, and it just gives her value and says she's dope.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally where I've been like the past 3 years, just teaching and educating and trying to get street dance. My ultimate goal is to get street dance into legitimate academia so that it's not constantly on the back burner as a popular
As a,
dance, or less than when you see things on TV like So You Think You Dance, or you know, Dancing with the Stars. Street dance is either a novel performance or they're not the winners of the show. There's no legitimate street dance judges on a TV show like World of Dance. None of the celebrities know how to do what we know how to do.
oh, yeah. Right. No, I mean it's
Zero. So
part of
getting street dance into academia is a huge goal for me, because if it can be valued there and people can get degrees in it, then it can be valued in society, which unfortunately is a system we live in right now.
yes. Yes, and let's continue to work on ways in which we break that system, right? As a
Yes.
holder of degrees and a teacher in one of those institutions, if I didn't know before, which I promised that I did, but the conversation now is at the forefront. The shortcomings of the institution or the system or that valuing is highly problematic. And we've got a couple questions coming in, but I would love to hear other responses to like what are your roles as elders or as leaders in the community.
Leaders, I wouldn't consider myself an elder. I'm 30. So
All
I'm
right,
No,
Power
definitely
Ranger.
I was about to just say that I'm definitely not any kind of elder. I'm a student and an enthusiast. I've been uh really um I think maybe like at the beginning of this year, I really would have just said like practitioner. Like I just really love this thing and I'm like practicing it. I've recently been shifting that language since I've had a lot of conversation and a lot of getting checked from the community about who I am here. And so I've been really shifting that into like, okay, yes, I'm a guest, I'm an enthusiast, I'm a student. And like really owning that and being like that has value to the upliftment of the community as a whole.
and he's a great student. He's a great student. He was in my class for a little over 2 years, and he went from not knowing how to do anything to being in the most advanced part of my class and kicking ass and taking names in competition.
Oh, I believe that 100%. I think great students make great teachers, and great teachers also are continually students, right? That we continue to learn and practice. Yeah.
Yes.
I have been thinking about my answer to your question the entire time.
Perfect.
Um, I'm going to go with, I think you and Cash will know what I'm about to say, accountability.
Mm.
Um, that is where it has been for me. There has been so much that has gone on within our community within the last month, not even the last 47 years of it, but um, me having to take accountability for things, the community having to take accountability for things, and just if we are to push this forward, if this is really going to move in a direction, then we need to know exactly what we want to do and how we want to do it. Um, and that comes from having the difficult conversations and being accountable for the things that are going on. And really trying to own what it is that we want to do. I think for us, we have existed in a plane where we we will make excuses for in hopes that at one point we will be able to showcase the original. I will mix it with this because it's cool and everybody likes it. Okay, so I'll do it in thoughts that at one point I will be able to just pop. Or I will mix this with that. And what has happened time and time and time again is that fusion has now become its own thing.
Mm.
And the original thing that it was is no longer even noticed or even realized for the contributions that it has made. And then ownership is then lost. And I think one of the things that we hear a lot is it's for everyone. It is for everyone, but it comes from specific people.
Yeah.
And that has been an important thing for me and a difficult thing for me because I never see myself as an elder, or I see myself more as a bridge guardian. Like I'm guarding the bridge.
Great.
Who goes back and forth on this bridge, that's my responsibility. And if they're going back and forth on this bridge, then I need to make them aware of things when they're going on either way. If you're coming over this way, these are some things that you should know.
Mm.
And the way that has changed for me over years is because when I first started as the guardian of this bridge, it was like, halt, stop, where you going? Where do you think you want to be? Oh, you don't know? You got to go back. Like, there was no two-way conversation. I was checking everybody at the door, and that was that. And I think now those lanes need to be conversed, and they need to be well prepared. And some people need to get to the other side so they can realize that they need to go back and do a little bit more studying, and then that back and forth needs to happen because there are things that are happening on the other side of the bridge that you just don't know about until you get there.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing and trying to do and trying to be accountable for in my role as a member of this community.
Bridge
I wouldn't
keep.
say elder or guardian, just a member of the community.
No, I think that's important, right? That like actually all of us as members of any community, large or small, are responsible for our community. And so
Yeah.
whether you have a title or not, I think taking that responsibility or having the accountability is an important piece. I'm curious then how do we move forward? What is the direction? Does it look like more education? We had a question from one of our workshop participants about like how can this information and the rich history be incorporated into more, we'll call them old and outdated for the purpose of this conversation, but more traditional dance history courses. Like, what does that look like for you, or what other directions? Where do you want to head in the field, in the community, in your own personal practices? What does that look like?
I mean, yeah, it does look like classes in the university. It does look like, well, I want to get a degree in dance, but I don't want to do this or that. I want to do street dance. I want to be able to go on tour with Beyonce or do music videos. I want to be able to be background for street dance movies. I want to be legitimate. So I need to get a degree. It looks like people like myself who are legitimate educators, which there's not many, unfortunately, because everybody's trying to make a buck right now. But it looks like people like myself in the same positions as you,
Mhm.
um, working in educational institutions, sitting in the giant classrooms, talking about history, but then also demonstrating. That's the difference with street dance. Street dance is very hands-on, and you gotta know, you gotta be book smart. Um, it's a fine line because it's not the same as, oh, okay, I'm gonna learn how to do this dance or that dance, and it's just I'm in class every day sweating and stretching and blah blah blah, and then that's it. There's legitimate science, almost like martial arts, to street dance. The way you have to use your bodies, it's a much more complicated process than just dancing. Not that any other dance is not that way,
Sure.
but from what I've witnessed growing up, watching my friends and crewmates, men and women, participate in different dance styles, those that are classically trained or not, it's not the same as the classes that happen in our community.
I feel
Yeah,
as though.
that's easy.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Q.
For me, where does it go now? For one, it's like we're already there. For one, like we for me, I'm like I have to keep going into this work, right? Keep learning more, keep doing that same thing. Um, and so like one of my mentors, Sekou Heru, he's like, it's not broke. And I keep like mulling over that statement. Because that question of like, where do we go now is like, oh, well, what's wrong with what we're doing right now? Um, and so there's that side of it. Um, and then kind of to Castro's point too, like there's this compartmentalization in a lot of dance history classes, specifically within academia that I've seen, that even with its Eurocentric theme, it's like here's Martha Graham, here's um, Cunningham, here's Duncan, here's blah blah blah, and then we go take modern and ballet class, and like we really don't make connections between like who they were and how they were in the world and what they were going after in our technique.
Mhm.
We separate them and compartmentalize them, and then we're like, okay, like yeah, they created it, and now we just dance. We just like we do it because we do it. Like that's it. And like that's for me very unsatisfying. And so I believe that a lot of street and club dance systems and mentality goes in the opposite direction, in that it's like, okay, here's the people and here's how the people are thinking in life, and that's how it exudes in the dance as well. So like you don't extract one from the other. And me coming from a place of academia, that's where I began as far as my dance career, to even at like there's this spiritual in-depth side of me, black brown. It's like I know that to be true, that side to be true, but I also grew up in academia where that compartmentalization is very true as well. And so there's a constant navigating of how each is valuable and how each exists in me, and where do I move from there. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh man, it's just so much to take apart there.
Yeah.
Um, if you would have asked Sibo a year ago
Hmm.
what needs to be done in street dance in order for this, I'd have gave you the A to Z. Gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do this. And that word accountability became my word of the year, and it broke apart everything that I thought I knew about this. And one of the things that is blaringly transparent in my life is that a lot of the rules and regulations and standards that have not been put for people that look like me. So now I have to ask myself, what is it exactly that I want? How exactly do I want this to be done? And these are questions that I have to ask my people in my community in order to get somewhere. And it's hard right now to do that because the people that I need to be able to focus on this problem are also focusing on the other side's problem. So how do we get this into academia? I can't think about getting it into academia and still think about what I need to do once we get into academia.
Yes.
There is a lot of things that we need to work on. Like, we can't
Takes a
do that
village.
and still fix the problem. Like, we never not said that we didn't want to be in academia. So why did academia not want us there? That's a question that they need to ask themselves. And then they can go from there and figure out how they can make that. Like, like I said, as the keeper of this bridge, there are a lot of things there that just need to be unpacked, that need to be unhashed, a lot of difficult conversations. And there is a rich history there. And there's also a rich history of not having that history told as well. And the truth of the matter is, both of those histories need to be told. And they need to be told from a place of sincerity. We were proud of who we were, and we saw that they were proud, and we didn't like that, so we did this. And these things need to be said. Like, in order to move forward, like, it's gonna hurt.
Yep.
As a married man for over 20 something years now, 28, 9 years now, trust me when I tell you, these conversations are not easy. You're dealing with another individual. And that's how it has to be seen. It's another individual having another conversation. So, yeah, academia is the way to go. But if we, the Black and Brown community, can't have the time to figure out what it is that we want to do once we get into academia, then we're being set up for failure.
Sure.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So we need the space to be able to think about what we want as well, just as much as the questions need to be asked of us. I think, this is my opinion, I think the best route for it to go is for academia to think about how they want to include the Black and Brown community and then bring that to the table. These are the things that we thought about, because the plans that they have in place, they thought of those on their own. They did not come to the Black and Brown community and go, hey, do you think we're not going to let you in? And these are the reasons why we're not going to let you in. Do you guys like these reasons? No? No. Okay. We'll take this one off. It didn't happen that way. Like, they planned that all the way out. So I think they need to plan the reverse all the way out and then bring that to the table and say, these are the plans that we put in place to counter these plans that we had before.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? And then the conversation can go. Not, what do we do?
Right here, I've made you a tiny opening. How would you like to fill it?
Feel it.
Good luck to you. Not enough space, but
Right.
yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. So then I guess I'm thinking about this beautiful question about legitimacy. Like, what does that look like in the community, or legitimate to whom? And then I'm also thinking about, Sibo, like, what kinds of questions do we want academics or institutions to be asking? Like, what are the hard conversations that I think we have to have with ourselves first, or myself? You know what I mean? My accountability is like, what are the things that I should be thinking about? Or
we can't. That's not something that I think that we can tell you.
Sure.
I don't think that that's something that we can tell you. Like, you need to ask yourself this question. You need to ask yourself this question.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a conversation, and as the conversations happen, questions will be asked of you, obviously. Yeah. But sitting here going, here's a list of questions that you need to answer before, again, that goes back to, we weren't asked a list of questions. We just had to adhere to the situation and the standards that applied. So
Mm-hmm.
now you're being asked to do the exact same thing. And instead of doing that, it's like, but I don't know what to do. So can you tell me? I'm just like, no one told us. We just had to do it. And that was it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
again, and it's not because we don't want to educate, it's just because we have to still educate ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like a two-pronged sword we're fighting. You go on one side of it, it's stabbing you from your own people in your community not seeing it as value due to issues that have to come with systemic racism and what the media puts out and what society deems as valuable. And then the other side is the institution in the way that's like, well, no. I mean, we've been fighting it since street dance became popular. What happened? MTV took it over, mass media got a hold of it, and all over the world now there's hip hop and twerking classes and all this stuff, and not a hint of black culture in any of those classes.
Right.
Not a hint of hip hop in some of those classes. It's actually just performative street jazz to black music. It's not actually hip hop. Even the stuff that was on the radio that was hip hop is now not on the radio, and the media decides what's hip hop for society. Not what's actually hip hop, but what the media says is hip hop. And that's the stuff that you guys hear on the radio that they say is hip hop. And we're sitting here like, no,
That's
it's not.
hip-hop.
That has nothing to do with this culture at all. Hip hop is not just one thing, and people say a word and it throws this blanket statement over everything that's black and brown. And all the details and the beauty of our culture and our community gets washed away like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that's said the most, that hurts the most, is this is for everybody. But hip hop is for everybody. It's for everybody but us. And we agree.
And so then you get into that guardianship thing that he's talking about,
Yeah.
which is why we're so protective of this. When Q brought up the fact that this was accepted into a festival you guys were having, me and Sibo was like, "Who's the festival? What are they doing? What are
Who's
they?
that?
Who is that? What are they? What are they?
Wait,
I don't
wait,
understand. What kind of organization? What kind of school is this? Is it a black college? Is it? I don't understand.
Right.
Because we have to protect
Sure.
at this point.
Yeah.
Hmm. When I'm thinking about and looking at the question, us, when this part of the question of in spaces that weren't created for us is higher ed, right?
I think so. I think the intention is that us is the white folks who are in higher ed or have designed these institutions of academia, and yeah. So then, how do we translate the legitimacy that you all, I hear you talking about, and I think it's so important to underline, like, what we hear or what we see is being decided by people for us, as opposed to a community that has built a really important part of this American history, and it's being whitewashed, literally, and then also, misrepresented. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like to answer that question pretty frankly, I don't mean to be harsh. I hope you all know my heart. It's what legitimacy looks like is those people being in the leadership positions to legitimize it. Like white people who privilege off of an oppressive system, you can't legitimize it. It's not yours to legitimize. So yeah, it's putting those people in the places of power to legitimize it in conjunction with other people of other forms and other cultures, right? It's not only that, but it's uh creating a sense of equity in in those leadership positions, which currently is very imbalanced.
Right.
That's
Cool.
Yeah, we're in a tough spot. But what's new?
Right. The amount of eyes that are open to the tough spot. I think what's new for me, at least from my perspective, is the number of people that are reckoning in real ways, and I don't think that it's enough or it's we're on the right track or anything like that. But I think that feels like what's new for me, and it probably doesn't feel very different. Um, if if there's so much that needs to be guarded and protected, and I mean, I'm still sitting with the beginning of the conversation where we had to specify that these beautiful contributors and OG members and elders died of natural causes. Like, we needed to say that explicitly.
Yeah, yeah. When he said it, and it's funny you say that now because when he said it, I was like, I'm mad he had to say that, but I
Yeah.
understand say that, and I just sat here like,
Listen, for the people watching, you guys know this is not a it is very serious. It is a serious situation, and the smiles on our faces tells you nothing but we are hopeful that this world will be better, but we know better. We know better. We have to know better. I want you guys to pay close attention to the faces that you are looking at. Because these are the faces that people are screaming about every single day that are being murdered in the streets. And we have such a rich history and such a rich culture and such a rich everything. All these things are being said, but we're not being represented. We're not being heard. We're not being. And you look at the videos that we put out, and you look at the dances that we created. Everyone loves it. Everyone is.
Sibo, can you speak up a little bit?
I'm trying to hold it back, bro. So
It's tough because this is our reality, and in the midst of our reality, we're trying to educate and move forward and go backwards, and
I'm gonna let you guys be privy to some private stuff. Q, Castro, and I had a talk prior to this about this, and I basically let them know where my heart is right now with the America and how it sees itself as this cake. And I don't I am fortunate that I have many allies like yourself, Stevie, who have been in this for a hot minute, who would, jump by my side at any given day. But I know that the system that we live in not it is not it's not broken. It is so finely tuned, finely built that unless we abandon it in its entirety and start anew, it will adjust. And even in abandoning it in its entirety, if we do not get new orchestrators to build a new one, if we hire the old ones or have them mentor the new builders, we will be building the same system again. And there are far too many people who do not like that idea and don't see value in that idea. I just every day. It's every day that I've been on this planet. Every single day. It has never not been there.
Can I add on to that, Sibo?
Of course.
Just like during that conversation, I also said that this is this product of Building Shop is exactly that, is oppressed people coming together to create an alternative. This product is based off of thankfulness, of gratefulness, of selflessness. And that's a different product than what is valued in our society often. And that's not to say that there's not places where we can improve, right? One of our community members actually in Ladies of Hip Hop, shout out to Michelle Bird. Please go donate to Ladies of Hip Hop, as every proceed goes to them, splits between that organization, which does mad things for the community, and the elders who we speak about in the film. So she checked me from after the film was shown last year in New York City, and she was like, where are the women? Like, you had only one woman being shown. And it perpetuates this culture being a male dominated thing only, but like the men wouldn't be doing this thing. I got this from SIBO. The men wouldn't be doing this thing if it weren't for the women. So it's so that's to say that we're not perfect in doing it too, right? That's why we need the community to constantly have that conversation. So the next time we get a little bit better, right? The next film will have more women in it, right? And then maybe we'll make another mistake. Not maybe, we will make another mistake because we're humans. And hopefully the community will check again to uplift the next product. So I think that whole process is very different than the system that we're used to.
Extremely. Extremely different. It's a well-oiled machine. And sorry. It's uncomfortable for those who don't look like us now. But think about how long we've been living in uncomfortability. You know, we've constantly had to upgrade the level and the amount of things we're uncomfortable with every single day. And now everybody's complaining because they got to wear a mask. I'll get real personal for a second. I was 4 years old. I was coming back from church. Church is huge in the Black community, right? Everybody goes to church on Sunday. Black Caribbean household. And I'm in a car full of Black men in suits. I'm 4 years old. I'm also in a suit. They got me a little suit. And we're going down the BQE. No, sorry, not the BQE. The Grand Central Parkway, heading back to Jamaica, Queens, New York City. And we get pulled over. And on a certain stretch of Grand Central Parkway, there is no side of the road. There's just a lot of gravel and cement walls right when you get into Jamaica. And they pulled us over and they pulled us all out, me included. And they put us all in handcuffs, me included, face down, facing traffic. Wondering why 4 Black men were wearing suits on a Sunday morning. Luckily, the chief at that time, who was Black, went to church with us and saw us get pulled over and got out of his car and made sure we were let go. That was my first experience, 4 years old, with racism, not understanding what was going on. Growing up in my neighborhood, it wasn't the nicest place to be, but systemic racism makes sure that, you know, you're caged like animals and you only get to act like animals and you get to fight for scraps like animals. So that's the reality of the majority of ghettos and hoods in Black communities, which is why there's so much fighting and what people like to call Black on Black crime, because we don't have shit else. It's part of my French. Luckily, that's I found that's not French. luckily, I I found dance. My father was in the military my entire life, 25 years. He's infantry. He's over there, U.S. Special Forces, fighting terrorism. Um, he didn't come into my life till I was 26. By then, I already had a house and a wife and all that other stuff. So I got to learn who my father was at 26. But that's the choice he had to make to be able to afford to put the rest of my siblings through college, to be able to afford to have a house, to be able to afford to have education for free. Because growing up in Brooklyn in the 70s as a young Puerto Rican man, when everything's burned down, you kind of don't have those options. You're fighting for scraps. I got lucky because I'm a legacy child. He's one of the first B-boys in New York. Um, and he wasn't there my entire life. And somehow I still ran into breaking. I still ran into street dance. I still ended up with this in my life. And then the elders in my community, especially the ones in New York, turns out he was with some of the most important ones. He was friends with them as children, and come to find out they've known each other their whole lives. And he was just, my father was just talking to Stretch today, who's one of the founders of freestyle hip hop dance. Um, and I got lucky. I got lucky that dance pulled me away from things and afforded me art and afforded me education, afforded me opportunities and movies and, you know, TV and all these other things. I can't say the same for the majority of the people I grew up with. Most of the people, I'm 30, I'm gonna be 32. Most of the people in my neighborhood that I grew up with are dead. They didn't make it to.
You're gonna be what?
I'm gonna be 32 next week. They didn't get to see 32. They didn't get to see 26. That's like almost my entire kindergarten class is gone. I got lucky. So what to re-answer part of that question you asked before, what does it look like going forward? It looks like people like me who took responsibility because there's almost nobody left. Somebody's got to do it.
And he's only 32.
So I have a dog, and I'm apologizing in advance for when she barks again. Yep.
There's mine. Starting to whine.
But I'm wondering whether you have parting shots for us. I want to be respectful of your time and also express so much gratitude for the amount that you've contributed already. Jesus.
They got stuff to say. Somebody got to go to the bathroom.
Right?
He's like, look, you need to take me outside right now. Stop talking.
Now.
Yeah.
Now.
You talk enough. So I'll leave it in your beautiful and capable hands, and just wonder where we can continue to go to educate ourselves if we want to deepen our knowledge and practice, or your own inspirations, or something. Doesn't even have to be light. I don't think we need to pretend. But what are some things you want us to walk away from this conversation and the documentary with and for?
Do research on who started what, where do things come from, ask questions, reach out to people, ask questions, constantly question everything, ask questions. Especially when it comes to any form of education, right? You want to know who started this and blah, 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 and this, that, and third. So you need to look for keywords: freestyle hip hop, street dance, legitimate hip hop culture, leaders in the hip hop community. These are the things that you want to look for when it comes to. These are the things I can think of right now, anyway, when it comes to what to take away from this. But then also in your own personal lives, hold dear those moments and those things that you experience with the people who helped you learn valuable lessons that shaped you into the person you are today. Because to be honest, street dance is not a thing. It's not just a thing, right? You don't go to school and get a degree for a thing. It's not a pastime. It's a life choice. So street dance for us is also a life choice, and it's a lifestyle. And to those who stay true to what hip hop is and its cultural um, givings, it's not a thing. It's definitely a way of life. It's part of who we are and what shaped us. Like if you watch the film, now me and Slick are not on the best of terms now, but I could never say anything negative about him, defaming him or anything. Look at everything I'm able to achieve, how long I've been able to teach, the success I have because of him, because of people like Adesela, because of people like Kid Dynamo. The conversations, the experiences, the lessons learned shaped the man I am today. And the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I to go off of like ask questions, I think one of my main questions is constantly why? Why am I doing this? And then also who, I think this is more of a recent question, like who is being impacted by whatever I'm doing. Um, and I think if we ask that more often and we're in actual conversation outside of our own selves with that, and we're transparent about that questioning, I think we would just be a lot more empathetic in how we move, and cautious in how we move. And that would be slower. It's definitely slower, I think, in our speedy society. I personally feel like I'm fulfilled in that slowness. So yeah, those are some of the questions I would ask.
Accountability. Hold yourself accountable. If you don't know, ask yourself why you don't know. And if you think you know, ask yourself why you think you know. For the people that look like me, keep fighting the good fight. For the people who don't look like me, keep fighting the good fight. I will say one thing about my allies out there. Um, if you don't know and today was your first day finding out, it's a good question to ask yourself. Why is today the first day I'm finding out? These people have been in this country since this country began. How is it possible that I don't know as much as I should know? You think about that, like we have been here the exact same amount of time everyone else has been here. And how is it that we don't know nearly as much about us as we do about people that look like yourselves, I'm assuming? And then now I'm taking it even further in my mind. I'm like, how is it that I don't know anything about Native American culture? This is their land. So, as you know, it's a continuous process. This anti-racist stuff is serious. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work on both sides, and I don't want anyone to feel like it's work that's fruits no labor. I think the more things you can find out about yourself and have conversations with your family about and get truths about. I've had some conversations with my mom that have brought a lot of things to light that I know she did not want to talk about, especially to her son. So, and these are the conversations that's going to eventually shape this world. Thank you all for checking out the movie.
Thank you for being willing to share it with us. I promise that we'll continue to take good care of it, and look for.
You have no choice in that matter. We know who you are now, Steve.
Fair.
We know who you are.
Listen, anytime you want to come up to Rochester, New York, you have a place to stay, a place to play in the studios. I mean, I know that it's not,
Where did you
Oh
say?
wait, where did you say?
Where New York?
yeah, Rochester. We're up by Toronto.
I'm in
Oh,
Canandaigua.
Stop it.
I am 30 minutes away from you, lady.
Get in the car. We'll take the
look at
dogs
my
for a
face.
walk.
Look at my face. I'm not
I live in
going.
Canandaigua. I've been living here for the past 2 years. This is my father's a veteran, so he goes to the VA here.
Okay. Very good. Well, I am still a New Yorker at heart, so whenever
Same.
I, yeah, can get home to the city, when who knows, I will wear my mask.
Please, please.
I promise. Um, but I think these, lessons and conversations on equity, on histories, real talk histories, on political climate and the socioeconomic implications that it has, can start in community and can start from institutions, right? That I do think. And so, what I'm hearing and what I saw, what I witnessed from your beautiful documentary, and what I'm hearing and feeling, even across Zoom and internet and whatever, is a kind of magic that I hope continues to move us in a direction that feels productive. And so, I want to make sure that we close it out so we can do the other things that are also calling us, dinners that have been beautifully prepared, and
I was doing that as I was speaking with you guys.
yeah, yes, please. Um, and also say that for anyone tuning in later, or still having questions, you can email summerdance@brockport.edu. I will try to filter those conversations and those questions to our guests and to other resources so that we can continue to educate ourselves and do the work, continue to do the
Yeah.
work. So.
I mean, just send those questions to Q. Q will definitely make sure we get them in. The three of us will try to answer to the best of our abilities.
Beautiful. Perfect. Thank you so much. I hope that you all have a super lovely evening. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Thank you so
having
much.
us.
Yeah.
Stay blessed, y'all.
Bye.